All right. So, guys, we are super excited. It's Grunt and myself, and we are back with an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! News you might have missed. And when Master Duel first released, it seemed like there wasn't a ton of news out there at first. I think Konami had a very central, let's focus on that product, get it released, make sure that it's successful, which it has been very successful. But then I was checking with Grunt and I'm like, hey, let me know if there's new news coming. And sure enough, Konami was back on it. And so Grunt did a great job of putting these slides together. So again, Grunt, we are very thankful for what you do with keeping us updated on Yu-Gi-Oh products. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Honestly, I think Konami planned things out quite a bit because one, we did not know when Master Duel was coming out, and they literally gave us Master Duel right before the last core set just came out. So they definitely found a good time to release it so that there wouldn't be so much new stuff in the TCG and OCG to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just been a deluge ever since then with so much stuff in the upcoming core sets coming out. Not the one in the summer, but the one we're getting probably around September,
Yeah.
October, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously the side set that's looking incredibly good. So just so
Yeah.
much.
It's going to be neat. I can't wait to hop in. So notice we've got quite a bit of nostalgia going here with some of these new cards that they've got. So the first one here is a V Jump promo card, and it has already been released in the OCG. So it's Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. It's a level 6 dragon effect monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can send one level 5 or lower normal monster from your hand or deck to the grave, then special summon this card from your hand and increase its level by 1. Oh, that's really easy. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your grave and add one Red Eyes Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Oh, wow. That is fantastic support for that archetype, everybody.
Hmm.
Then the next one we have here, Angel with Blue Tears. It's a normal spell. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. So it is a hard once per turn. That's good. Target one face-up monster on the field. Its controller opponent takes 200 damage for each card in their hand, and then negate that monster's effects until the end of this turn. I love it. Okay, if either player takes effect damage, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then set one normal trap from your hand or deck. And if you set it from the hand, it can be activated this turn. Oh, Grunt, these are wonderful cards. Which one do you like the most?
I like the spell more.
Yes.
Literally with the dragon, the only thing that's a kind of a shame with him is that he facilitates you getting your normals in the grave, which, ironically, I think Red Eyes gives less of a care about this, and I think Dark Magician will like this more just because it
Yeah,
gets you a Dark Magician in your graveyard. It gives you a 7 if
absolutely.
you really want to go into a rank 7 play.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's got some accessibility. I mean, the whole Red Eyes Fusion searching thing, I don't really care for that just because Red Eyes Fusion is so
It's
much
so
better with
good. Yes.
Verte because it has
Yeah.
so many restrictions. But I think a lot of people are agreeing that Verte is probably going to get banned pretty soon.
There's a
So
very good likelihood of that, yes.
there's a good likelihood of that. But I like the spell more just because it does a lot more for Trickstars. This is definitely Trickstar based. For those who don't know, the
Mm-hmm.
player who played Trickstars went by the alias Blue Angel. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
that's right. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah.
so the effect is decent because one, it's kind of it's not even an imperm or a chalice because it's slower. It's only a normal spell, but it gives you a negation effect, and it does burn you. It's weird because it burns the opponent um, of the monster that's negated. So you can negate your own Trickstar to burn your opponent,
Yeah.
or you can negate your own opponent and get burned. It doesn't really matter that
Yeah.
much. The second effect, literally just sets any normal trap, but the
Well,
idea is you'll set your Trickstar
that's
reincarnation.
what I was just gonna say. That is perfect for reincarnation because it's a normal trap. Yeah, that's great. But I could see this being used in lots of decks, especially like Trap Eldritch. I mean, that could easily happen where you can go ahead and set a card. I mean, there's some really good applications here that I think lots of players are going to enjoy because it's any normal, right? Any normal trap card from your deck.
It's
So,
it's any normal. The only thing is that we'll go over the more normal stuff later. If you have any idea of some of the side set stuff, Angel
no.
with blue tears. Only downside is that outside of Trick Stars, I can't think of a lot of decks where you're burning your opponent.
Yes, right.
Yes, you'll burn your opponent with Angel with blue tears,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to resolve in the graveyard, so it's not going to be able to trigger off of its own burn.
Right, right.
It's not a horrible thing. It's just that unless you're playing a deck that happens to have some burn in it somewhere, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get as much out of it. And trust me, we'll see a lot more in terms of normal trap splashability later on.
Okay, well, let's keep going. Really good start, though. I like both cards.
Hmm.
For the next one here, this is from V-Jump subscription cards. So this is Motor Violence. It's a level 6 Dark Machine monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card or another machine or machine monsters is normal or special summoned to your field, you can make the summoned monsters gain attack equal to half its original defense. Also, its battle position cannot be changed. These effects will last until the end of the opponent's turn. That's actually pretty good, that last part there. If this tribute summoned card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 engine tokens that are in attack position. The attack's pretty weak though, it's only 200. Then we have, is this Vatis? Votis?
I couldn't tell you. My best guess is Vadis, just
Okay.
because these two, and you'll be able to tell in the next page which one. Three of these cards are based off of Yugioh R. If anyone remembers that manga, that was the one with the Wicked Gods.
No, I didn't even know that's a thing. Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
I believe Motor Violence was played by. I hate to say this, but I'm just guessing because it's typing. I believe Motor Violence was played by Bandit Keith in the manga.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, long story short, these are like again old new cards that are based on much older manga cards from like over 10 years ago. So, some of you wonder why the effects are kind of weird looking. That's probably why.
Okay. Very interesting. All right. So, when this card is normal summoned, you can wait. Let's see, excavate. There we go. The top 3 cards of your deck. And if you do, you can banish one of the excavated monsters to add one other monster from the same name from among the excavated cards or your deck to your hand, and then shuffle the rest back into the deck. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn after being normal summoned or set, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, place them on top of the deck in any order. And then you said there's more of these? Okay, yeah, I see them here. Okay, then after that, oh, I've already heard of this girl. Okay, so Loris, Lady of Laments, level 3 Dark Fiend. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. You can target 3 or 6 of your normal traps that are banished or that are in your graveyard, and then place them on the bottom of the deck in any order, and then draw 1 card for every 3 cards placed. Oh, that's amazing. Second effect, if another monster or monsters is tributed, or a normal trap or traps in your position is sent to the grave by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 normal trap in your graveyard and set it to on your field. Oh, that's just fantastic. And then we have Clasimor Molar. I'm not sure. When this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. It gains attack equal to its original attack, and then during the end phase of the next turn, destroy that monster. And if you do, your opponent takes damage equal to half its original attack. At the start of the opponent's battle phase, you contribute this normal summon set card. Your opponent's monsters cannot attack directly this turn. Though, so the
Not
second
that good.
effect is kind of useful. So,
The
uh,
first
uh,
effect, and this is the one thing I wanted to say,
yeah,
going back to Motor Violence real quick.
sure.
It's weird because it does require to be tribute summoned, but there are some ways you could get around this. I'm sure you could find a way to combo off. I'm not saying it's busted, but
Mm-hmm.
in the future, if there's some deck that grants additional normal summons and you're able to gain advantage by tribute summoning Motor Violence somehow, cheating him out through an additional summon, and then, getting tokens, like, there could be something in the future. Like, it's not
Yeah.
horrible, it's just kind of okay. Vadis, I could see some players like with Metaphys or Thunder Dragon experimenting with it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the
Hmm.
but the worst thing is that it relies on excavation and it has to be normal summoned. So compared to something like a Loof Lupine, I don't really see it being as
Yeah,
generically good.
I agree.
And the second effect is literally just, oh, I can change my thing. I can change my card's order. That's kind of
Uh,
cool, but it's
it's okay.
eh, he's okay. Loris, Loris, I had to put her somewhere. She's definitely the best of these, just because
Absolutely.
the
Hmm.
he recycles traps. No, a lot of decks like that. It even does banish traps. So like Paleos will appreciate this if someone really wants to play Paleos with
Hmm.
Lady of Lament. And then Casamalar is a joke. He can stop direct attacks, but at that point, I
I
would just
know.
run. At that point, like, sure, he's a fiend. Sure, you can special summon him, but I'd rather just run something like Wabaku, and
Yes.
no one even runs Wabaku. So I don't think anyone's gonna run him.
I agree. I think this is for the collectors. I looking at these cards, except for Loris, she's going to be great. And there's potential there with Motor Violence, but the other ones, yeah, I think that's more for the collector side, which is fine. That's what's great about Yu-Gi-Oh! You do have all those different groups, which is really
Hmm.
cool. Looking at now the History Archive collection. So we've got a field spell here, and this card is always treated as a Baron's card. Your opponent cannot target CXZ monsters, number C monsters, and number monsters with a number between 101 and 107 in their names you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Oh wow, that's pretty good. So no targeting, and they can't be destroyed by card effects. That's not bad at all. Once per turn, if you special summon an Xyz monster with a Rake Up magic spell effect, you can target that Xyz monster and one monster your opponent controls and attach that opponent's monster to the Xyz monster's material. Oh, wow. Okay, next one, Supreme King Soul. It's a normal trap. Pay half your life points and special summon one Supreme King Z Arc from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, but effects are negated. Also, it is returned to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. Oh my goodness! I let me finish the card because I've got lots to say about this. When your opponent activates a spell card or an effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and one Supreme King Z Arc you control. Special summon up to 4 monsters from your hand, deck, or extra deck, and or graveyard, one each with Pendulum Dragon, Xyz Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and or Fusion Dragons in their name. Wow. I know lots of Pendulum players that love Zark. It's one of their favorite cards. So the
Hmm.
idea that you can cheese it out, I think is interesting. And then the advantage that you can have by banishing this from your graveyard, that's interesting as well.
Hmm.
So, pretty interesting. But if I'm looking at a really great card here, man, that field spell, if you're running a pure Xyz deck, boy, is that fantastic if you're using the numbers between 101 and 107. Your
It
thoughts?
So the field spell lines up pretty well with. We talked about this during, I think, the last news video, which was again at least a month and a
Oh,
half
almost, yeah.
ago.
Yeah, it was a while.
But the field spell lines up pretty well with the Shark slash Nash support that we got
Oh, yeah, yeah.
in that duelist pack. It was kind of middling at the time, but I mean, it still has some rank up applications. It does search out Variance cards, which is why
Uh-huh.
Variantopia has that line, so you can search it. Which again, with terraforming and metaverse at one respectively, this means you can more easily search it. I don't think I've seen that many broken applications with it, but a lot of the chaos numbers, especially some of the 101 through 107s, a lot of those are pretty good. And even if you're not running those, any number C outside of 101 through 107 is fine. It just has to be, you know, if it's a standard number, it has to be 101 through 107. So
Mm-hmm.
any of your Chaos Utopias, any of like, there's plenty of decks that can run this if they really need to just run a field spell, just
Yeah.
because it does give you some generic use. It even gives you a reason to use rank up magics with the whole stealing effect,
Oh,
although
absolutely. That stealing effect is amazing.
it doesn't get around targeting protection. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hey, stealing an opponent's monster and keeping it out of the graveyard, that is
Yes.
pretty good.
Keeping it attached. Yes. That's very good.
And the trap is pretty much, daring your opponent to activate a spell. And if they activate a spell, okay, well, I'm just going to cheat out this one Pendulum Dragon from my deck. I'm going to cheat out one of my Exige Dragons, my Crystal Wing, and I don't know, for Starving Venom, you could cheat out something. The point is just being able to make that much advantage off of it. Pretty good. Paying
Oh,
extra
yeah.
life points for Pendulum players is not really a big issue.
Yep.
Like, if you already control a decent field of cards, like summoning a Zark on top of that could really help. So even if
Mm-hmm.
it is negated, it's still a 4K beater at
That's what
worst.
I was gonna say. It's a 4K beater. There's lots of decks that need those sometimes. Yeah, great point. Yeah, I like it. So I think both cards are solid. In fact, quite a few of those today. It's very exciting. The next one here, we've got Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid Neo Tempest. Wow. So it requires, oh, it's a Link 5. So it requires 3 plus Cyberverse monsters. That's interesting. It says Cyberverse. That's definitely important. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. First effect, negate any opponent's monster's effect that's activated during the battle phase. That's a good thing. Quick effect, you can send one Cyberverse monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card is also treated as the sent monster's attribute, and it also gains 2,500 attack. This card can make a number of attacks on the monster each battle phase up to the number of its attributes. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then
Hmm.
the next one here, Performapal Greatest Duelist of the Age. Oh, I love the art. That just looks great. And then we've got it's a level 4 light, spellcaster, which is great. It's also a great skill, being at 8. So let's look at the pendulum effect. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles another monster, you can return this card to the hand, and if you do, banish one spell from your deck. Also, your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. Also, have any battle damage you take from it. Monster effect 1. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add one Supreme King Dragon monster, one Supreme King Gate monster, or one Supreme King Soul from your deck to your hand. That is terrific. Once per a second effect once per turn during each standby phase. Activate this effect. Each player can banish one spell from their deck. And then the third effect, once per turn when a monster declares an attack, activate this effect. The attack player can apply this effect. Add one of your banished spells to your hand, then discard it. If you do, negate that attack. Oh, wow. Boy, these are interesting cards. Okay, Grunt, what stands out to you?
Terahertz here is pretty interesting. I don't think it's like the most amazing thing ever, but compared to like the original Dark Fluid, which has pretty much never seen play,
Mm-hmm.
I could see this seeing play. It's relatively generic for cyber stacks, and as long as your opponent doesn't negate the summon, you're able to go into your battle phase, make it a 5K plus beater,
Mm-hmm.
and your opponent, even if your opponent has Appaloosa or Borreload, since it's the battle phase, they won't be able to negate you at that point, and you can attack over them. You
Oh,
get
that's
two
awesome.
attacks, and like it gets better every turn as you keep pitching. It gives you free mills, so it's got some uses.
Yeah. So
I
are
don't
do those attribute changes stack? Like how does that work exactly?
They stack because it says you can send one Cyber's monster, and if you do, this card is also treated as the sent monster's attribute. Also, it gains 2,500 attack. So it's still dark, but since it doesn't say this card becomes that card's attribute, essentially it's implied that it has multiple
Oh,
attributes at
that's
once.
amazing. That
And
is
it's not
amazing.
until the end of the turn either. So you're gonna keep that 2500 attack, and
Wow.
the only thing that sucks for it is that it does not have any inherent protection outside of making it so your opponent can't activate effects during the battle phase. But in a good amount of situations, if you're making this thing a 5K double attacking beater, odds are you can attack over most things. Battle traps are a thing, but people aren't running too many battle
No,
traps.
not anymore.
It's
Yeah.
if you have room in your extra deck for like a code talker deck, you could probably justify ending
Yeah.
on this somewhere or running it. But
Well, and
it's
that's
a win
just
more
so
card.
interesting. So, it's a heavy investment. I mean, being a level 5, or a link 5, I should say. And then
Mhm.
you've got to have the at least 3 Cyberverse monsters to make it work. But what about card ruling? So, like, what about goes in match? How would that affect this thing?
I'm not 100% sure how goes in match works with that. My best
Because you
guess
can only
is that
control one attribute, right? Like a monster with one attribute, I believe.
it would not be able to stay on it. This is one of those very obscure things where I'm not 100% sure because this isn't something that comes up often. There's not a deck known for running so many different attributes
Right,
like that,
right.
but it's there. I Here's the thing: the biggest thing that's going to stop this from being played is that literally access code does a better job.
Yes. Yeah.
It can already reach 5300 when you're using Unicorn or some other
Yep.
Link 3 with it. It doesn't need to be Cybers,
I
and you
agree.
get multiple pops every turn while not having any ability to respond. So it can get around counter traps. It can not worry about your opponent, during the battle phase. It can do it during
Uh-huh.
the main phase too. So it's cool, it's flashy, but a lot of the time I feel like access code gets the job done better. That's
Oh,
just me.
100%. Yes.
S- Whereas Greatest Duelist here, I mean, you read it yourself. It searches out one of the gates for your pendulum scales. It can
Hmm.
search out Dark Worm. It can search out the trap that we just looked at. So I'm not really a big perform pal guy. It's kind of like Heroes, where half the monsters are decent, the other half are just utter
Oh,
anime
yeah,
garbage.
trash. Yes.
So I'm not the biggest. I know that they're probably one of the more competent anime decks just because of how much good support they have,
Yes. And there is
but
plenty of
I
good
never play
performer
them.
call support. Yes. But
I've never really played them, but I do think
yeah.
that this is decent enough. Like you said, it's an 8 scale.
Hmm.
The whole spell negating attack gimmick, cute. It's not really a deal breaker, but it's not bad.
Yeah. And I think for pendulum players, they are going to be excited. Hey, here's another option for a scale 8. We have another level 4, which makes it easy for us to go into other things that we like to do, because lots of pendulum players work around level 4s, level 2s, 7s. They have specific ones they use quite a bit, and I think people are going to be happy about that. And again, the art, shout out to Konami, nice job. That was very well done. Ooh, okay. Now we've got number 39, Utopia Rising. So this requires just 2 level 4s. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target one number Xyz monster that's in your graveyard, except number 39, Utopia Rising, special summon that monster in defense position, then you can attach all of this card's materials to that monster. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, if you Xyz summon, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but it's banished if it leaves the field if it was summoned this way. Oh, wow. Oh, there's so much to talk about with that card. Okay, then we have Excel Synchro's Stardust Dragon. It's a wind type, level 8 Synchro monster that's dragon. Generic summoning, just one tuner and one non tuner monster. You can use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can or you can special summon one level 2 or lower tuner from your deck. During the main phase quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon one Stardust Dragon from your extra deck, This is treated as a synchro summon, and then immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control as the material. This turn, the monster synchro summoned by its effects is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Oh, wow. Okay, Grunt, both cards look fantastic to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, are there really any downsides?
Uh, Downsides, not really. Utopia Rising literally can let you bring back any number, and sure, it's in defense, but like the fact that you can just, use its effect right there, like it doesn't stop you from activating effects. Which, if you're summoning a number like Draglubion back, if you're summoning anything essentially that gives you some advantage on your turn, the fact that it can be any number,
Yeah.
pretty good, pretty good. The fact that it can bring itself back as a free body, in Utopia decks, this is going to be something nice to have just because, it gives you an extra material.
Yeah. Wouldn't this help with going into Utopic Future?
Yes, this definitely would help with Utopic
Yeah.
Future.
That was
Well,
my
actually,
first thought, because then you can go into Draco.
no, wait, nope, nope, because I'm pretty sure Utopic Future has to be specifically non-number
Oh,
monsters.
does
Let me
it?
double check.
Okay, we'll check on that, everybody.
Uh,
'Cause
yep, yep, no
oh,
numbers.
okay. Because I was gonna say that would be broken easily for you to go into this then. Oh my gosh.
Nope, it can do some stuff, but
So
it's,
there's the
it's
one
generically able
downside,
to bring
guys.
anything back. It's generically able to bring back any number. There are so many different numbers in the game with so many varying effects that I'm sure there are some nice combos you can pull off with this. Or even in a pure Utopia deck, it's there. The uses are there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon, in my opinion, is just a pretender. It's acting like Stardust support when all it really does is let you summon Baroness to floor during your opponent's turn because you bring back any level 2 tuner and then you use Stardust and that tuner to go into Baroness to floor. Let's not lie here. You're not summoning Shooting Star or anything else. You're summoning Baroness to floor, which is probably one of the best level 10 synchros in
Oh,
the
it's
game, if not
huge.
the best.
Absolutely. And this, and I like how Cloudy put this. I agree with her. These cards are nuts. I mean, these are really, really good cards. Grunt, what rarity are you expecting these to be?
Honestly, I'm expecting these to be in the next Brothers of Legend set, and they'll probably be secrets. I don't
Okay.
think they'll be. The only other set they could put them in is Ghost from the Past, and I think
Oh,
it's too
yeah.
soon. I think it's too
Yeah.
soon for these to be in Ghost from the Past because the OCG just got these. So I don't think we're gonna see these or any of the other History
Mm-hmm.
Archive cards in Ghost from the Past. But
Okay.
I would assume Battles slash Brothers of Legend, whatever they do with that.
That makes sense to me. I could see that being released there, but yeah, Cloudy, you are dead on. These are nuts. Okay, so the next one, wake up your elemental hero. Oh, look at the art. Oh, it's gorgeous, guys. Look at this. You got Hero Kids, right? Which is really cool. Then you've got, it looks like a Bubble Man type variant. Is this
Neo
yeah, I
Bubble
was gonna
Man.
say these are some of the different ones. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. Okay, so it requires one elemental hero fusion monster plus 1+ warrior monsters. This card cannot be special summoned except by a fusion summon. This card gains 300 attack for each material, and it can attack monsters each battle phase up to the number of fusion monsters that were used for its summon. At the start of the damage step in which this card battles a monster, destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Oh, good gosh. Okay, if this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can special summon one warrior monster from your hand or deck. Oh, that part is terrific. And that doesn't say it has to be your opponent doing that. Oh, that's really good. And then we've got the legendary sword master Blackluster Soldier. It's a level 8 ritual warrior monster. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos Form and or Super Soldier Ritual. This card cannot be special summoned except by a ritual summon. Before you conduct your normal draw, you can reveal this card in your hand to your opponent, and instead of conducting your normal draw, just add the ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Oh, good gosh. All right, your opponent cannot activate effects during your battle phase. When an attack by this card that was ritual summoned using normal monsters destroys an opponent's monster, you can shuffle all cards your opponent controls into the deck. Oh, good gosh, Grunt. Okay, so
Mhm.
I thought the last cards were crazy. The fact
Mhm.
that I can skip my draw and just get the card that I want for my deck. Ah, I mean, that is extremely strong. What kind of splash do you think this is going to make for rituals?
Not 100% sure because you've still got cards like Herald and other stuff that lets you facilitate the search without killing your draw, so you're able to generate more advantage. This is probably better in a pure Blackluster deck for
Oh,
sure.
yes, for sure.
Just
Yeah.
just because if you are going second, your opponent opens, like you can literally just try to activate this, and at worst, your opponent ashes it, and you're still gonna get your search.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely got some applications there. If you're able to somehow summon it without your opponent negating it, then and you're able to get to the battle phase, then yes, it can be a real wipe.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, Again, it depends on the deck. Some decks aren't going to care because they won't maybe have monsters. You've got trap decks, or you might have decks where you're facing something that's not destroyed. So
Yeah.
it's possible. So this could definitely see some usage. I don't think it's going to make the deck busted, but it is a definitely appreciated addition. And the fusion, I like the special summoning effect. It's definitely generically applicable.
Yep. I agree.
But it doesn't. But not summoning from the graveyard does kind of suck.
Yes.
It has to be hand or deck, which a lot of your best E heroes are in your extra deck or your graveyard after your extra deck.
After you've started
It's
stuff. Yeah.
so it might be decent. It could be any warrior, so there's that. And the first effect is kind of deceptive. It can attack monsters each battle phase up to the number of fusion monsters used as materials. So it's going to attack at least once, but if you're only going to be fusion summoning this with one fusion monster,
Right.
you're only getting one attack.
One attack. Yeah.
And it and no matter what, at the start of the damage step, you're popping the monster and inflicting damage equal to its original attack. So it's not bad. It's just, I get the sense that there's better cards to go into or just better saving your resources because this is cute and all, but like
Yeah.
the
Well,
wingman cards do better.
and that's what I was just thinking. It depends on the price of the card. So there's so many different players out there. You have your players that they're going to spend the money. They're going to have no problem dropping $80 on a card, $100. And then you've got what I think is a huge portion of the Yu-Gi-Oh community that's budget. And if this is a better budget option, then I could see players running something like this. But like you were saying, I think there's just better hero cards that
If
really
if
get
this
things done
fusion
better.
if this fusion ends up being a chase card, it's gonna be the biggest joke of a chase card ever. I'm not saying the card is bad. I'm just saying that it is very standard and not really anything remotely interesting. Like there's
Yeah,
much better hero fusions we've gotten throughout the years. This one's more generic. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be that generic, so it take what you can get. The one thing is that you could get away with like Miracle Fusion, but
yeah, yeah,
that's a late game option. And even if you do get multiple attacks, it's only on monsters, so it can't even attack directly
yeah. Great point.
after that.
Well,
So yeah.
and when I look at the ritual card, I agree with you. I used to play Black Luster Soldier when they had the support that came out. I want to say in 2017 with the new edition of that card. I can't think of its name right now, but I remember using Super Soldier Ritual, and that deck was pretty consistent. I thought it was very easy to work with. And looking at this, if you're running a pure version of this, I do think it would be good for the deck because for those players that want to play it like that, this is the right kind of support in the right direction. Now, is it going to be completely busted? Oh no, but it's great support, especially that you can just, it's like Raid Raptors. The idea that I can just skip my draw phase to add that quick play rank up card back to my hand from the grave, it's so useful. So I think that's kind of where this card is going, and I like the direction. I think Konami has done a very nice job with that ritual card. Very well done. Moving on here, we've got Chronicle Sorceress. So it's a level 4. Oh, the art again. Boy, it just looks really nice. It's a level 4 dark spellcaster. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. You can activate one of these effects based on the attributes that are in your graveyard. So if you have light in the grave, you can send one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one card that mentions it from your deck to the grave, except for Chronicle Sorceress. If it's dark, you can send one Dark Magician or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, except for Chronicle Sorceress. Oh, wow. I love it. Okay, and then we've got Stardust Worm, and this is a level 1 dragon, so it's nice that you can use 1 for 1 to search or to special this. You can only use this card's name's first and second effects once per turn each. If this card is in your hand or graveyard and you control a level 8 or higher dragon synchro monster, you can special summon this card, but banish it if it leaves the field. You can tribute this card and special summon up to 2 level 1 light dragon monsters from your hand and or graveyard, except for Stardust Worm, but their effects cannot be activated. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. So Chronicle Sorceress is doing something that I have already fooled around with. The idea that you could have a combined Dark Magician Blue Eyes deck. That it's low key just fun budget, but for players who want to mix the two, I feel this gives you that option. But it's also nice that the card could be used if you want to do a pure version of each deck. So, for example, if I'm playing just Blue Eyes, I could put this in, or if I'm playing just Dark Magician, I could put this in. And then if I'm, going back and forth between the decks, I don't have to, get extra copies of something different. I could just have this in there. And the Stardust card looks very interesting to me as well. The idea that you can special up, summon up to those 2 level like dragon monsters from your hand or graveyard. I would assume it would more than likely be the grave. Grunt, what's your thoughts on these cards?
I mean, I'm sure Konami will eventually shove a deck into our face that's totally intended to mix Blue Eyes and Dark Magician.
Yeah.
But I think we're still a ways away from that. Cards like
Yes.
Chronicle Sorceress are the building blocks, but it's definitely more along the lines of, hey, you can use this in either deck, and that's just fine. Personally, I'm not really sure if I would run this just because there's not a lot of ways to generically special it, and you may as well generically special your Blue Eyes or Dark Magician or some
Absolutely.
other
Yeah.
way over
Yeah.
this.
You'd
But it's there. It can pitch cards that mention it. So like for Blue Eyes, you can pitch pretty sure you could pitch, like the stones, and other stuff. So like there's
yeah.
some generic applications, but I think Blue Eyes has enough support. It doesn't need this. I think that Dark Magician has enough support that it doesn't need this, but it's just kind of it's
Yeah.
a neat little support option. And then Stardust Worm, I mean, I'm not going to say much because it's very clear what it is. It's just a facilitator for Majestic Dragon and getting the Majestic strategy to work better because you're able to summon Majestic Dragon from your grave
Uh-huh.
or the Wish Converging Dragon that we got. So it's not bad. It's honestly pretty innocent. It, does the job. I just feel like, again, not a lot of people are doing the Majestic strategy, but it is definitely something casual players will probably get a kick out of.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I see applications for both cards, and so I'm sure players will mess around with them, and it gives those players something new to get excited about.
Hmm.
Because, and I think at this point, everyone's just got to realize nothing is going to be as popular as the original anime, at least in my thinking. Because my gosh, I was just reading an article the other day about just how big that era was when the anime first dropped and its impact on card games in general. And so I think because people still rewatch those decks or that show, there's always going to want to be that legacy support for those archetypes of Blue Eyes and Dark Magician. But then again, with Stardust, 5Ds was very popular too. So I don't know. I just think there's always going to be that kind of support because of how well received those series were. Moving on here. So we got some Exo Sister stuff. So we got Exo Sister Malfa, and it's a level 4 light spellcaster. You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. If you control no monsters, or if the only monsters you control are Xyz monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, special summon one Exo Sister Elise from your deck. Oh, that's really good. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect except for Exo Sister monsters. I really like that they put that clause in. If a card is moved out of either graveyard, you can special summon from your extra deck one Exo Sister Xyz monster using this face-up card you control as the material. Oh, that's really neat. And then we have Exo Sister Latanya. I'm not sure. You can only activate a card with this card's name once per turn. If you control one or only Exo Sister monsters, you can pay 800 life points and target one card your opponent controls or that's in their graveyard and banish that target. Then you can apply one of these effects. Immediately after this effect resolves, you can Xyz summon one Exo Sister monster using monsters you control as material. For the rest of this turn, if you Xyz summon a monster, banish one card your opponent controls. Oh wow, that's not bad, Grunt. Thoughts that you have here?
So these are both pretty solid. Malfa is literally just, hey, I'm a starter. I feel like there might be some lore reason why it does Elise specifically among the other three existing Exo Sisters, but it gives you an instant rank 4 Exo Sister, and at worst, if you really want to, facilitate this against an opponent, you have an extra body to go into your Xyz plays. So she gets the job done. She's an extender and a starter, and the trap speaks for itself. Literally, you're able to banish a card in your opponent's graveyard, so it can be response. And then you can either Xyz summon, or, if you know your opponent's going to move something in their grave, you can just have a
Absolutely.
free non-targeting banish.
Yes, and I like the banish. I think that's the best part of that for sure. Anytime you have a way to banish and you're not relying on a hand trap like DD Crow, I think that's great because it's harder for your opponent to negate that from happening. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think the trap is honestly fantastic. I think it helps the deck quite a bit. And like Cloudy's saying, it makes it more viable. Uh, so, do you think this will lead to more? Is there more Exo Sister support after this slide, Grunt?
No, no, there is not. I'm expecting
Okay,
us to keep getting more Exo Sister
okay.
support just because it feels like they still want to support the deck quite a bit out, so we'll see.
Well, and the reason I asked that, do you think this is going to lead to more people playing the deck?
Will lead to more people playing it. Not 100%. Do I think it'll mean the deck see a little more play testing? Yeah, I
I
think people will
like the way
experiment
you
a bit more.
stated that. Explain what you mean by that. I think that's really good.
People are going to experiment with this deck and are going to have ideas, but I don't think this is going to help more people play the deck. I think that the people who are really interested in this stuff are the people who are already playing the deck, because this expands upon what the deck already did. It doesn't radically change its playstyle, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a solid enough deck. The biggest issue I always had with Exo Sisters was that they have such weak attack and defense points,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
they 100% rely on your opponent moving stuff out of their graveyard. So I think all they need is they just need to have more cards in the archetype that force your opponent to move stuff on their own, and then that way you're able to facilitate your Xyz summons. Until that really becomes accessible, though, I think the deck is going to just be sitting in limbo waiting for a format where it's
Mm-hmm.
actually competent.
That
It's
makes
good against
sense.
adventure. Like, it's good against decks right now that
Yeah.
move stuff,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but not every deck moves things out of the graveyard, so it really is just matchup dependent.
No, that makes complete sense to me.
I'm more excited about the next slide.
Okay, well, let's move on to that. So we've got Punk Jam Dragon Drive. It's a level 8 Earth Psychic Synchro. So you do have to have one Psychic Tuner plus one non tuner monster to make this. You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. So if this card is synchro summoned or special summoned by a card or a punk card's effect, you can pay 600 life points, take one level 3 psychic monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or send it to the grave. Oh, that's really good. If your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your punk card or effect's activation, and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Then we have Punk Jam Extreme Session. It's the field spell. You can only use this card's second effect up to twice per turn. Once per turn, you can banish one punk card from your graveyard, special summon one punk monster from your hand. If life points was paid to activate the effect of a psychic monster, you get to draw a card. And you can do that twice per turn. Oh my gosh, Grunt. Okay, so that's pretty darn good. Okay, so what are you thinking here?
So, Drag and Drive doesn't look like much at first. You know, it's a searcher, and then that's all it does. But the big thing here is that it's a level 8. So, if you're able to synchro. So, the biggest thing people wanted was we had talked about a level 5 punk monster that served as a recruiter slash searcher. And it was kind of an odd level for the archetype. And it's like, well, we have level 3 tuners, and then we have this level 5, or I think the level 5 was a tuner. Point is, it was kind of an odd level because the only other synchro they had was level 11.
Yeah.
But with this, you're now able to turn 5 and 3 into 8, and if you get your hands on another tuner, you're able to tune this into the level 11, and anytime your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your punk, you have this in the grave to come back, get another search, and add another big body on board, and it makes the deck a lot more fluid. It gives them more lines, and Punk Jam Session speaks for itself. The punks, ironically, had probably some of the worst archetypal spells that we've seen in deck building sets for a while. So the fact that Konami put a bandage on them and are like, okay, here is a better spell for you to search in your archetype
Yeah.
that literally lets you get a generic special summon that lets you draw a card anytime you pay life points once per turn. Um, it's good. It
Yeah,
really
I
is good.
I can especially that you can do it twice per turn. I mean, that is just really really good because we know that life points are going to be activated from the way we've looked at all these cards. They all have that going on.
Psychic is a very interesting concept because a lot of them, even though they are not archetypal, a lot of them have that life point gimmick. So even if you're going to some of the older psychic support
Oh
cards,
yeah,
you can
like the
pay
size
life
stuff.
points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even saying that's busted, but it gives you options. You know, you're going to be running your emergency teleport 100% of the time. You're going to be running quite a few things, and I think that this could put the deck into rogue just because it gives you a lot more consistency. It gives you more
Yes.
avenues, and what can I say? Triple E Telly is one heck of a drug.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
it
And I
really
think
makes
you
this
hit it
better.
on the head when you said consistency. That is going to help so much the fact that you're getting these draws. There's easier cards to go into. This to me makes quite a bit of sense. I know most of the deck is pretty budget. I think the only expensive
Yeah.
card is Foxy. Is that right? I think that's around
I
$10.
yeah, so I'm looking at them right now. The only punk cards that are gonna cost you a more than like a dollar or two is gonna be Foxy Tune. You want your place at a Foxy Tune, and she's an $8 card at the moment. But like the rest of the deck, Ogre Dance, which you can run any number of, is $1. The other synchro is currently just 50 cents to a dollar.
Oh, see,
So
that's not bad. Not
you can get
bad.
your core for well under $40. And I think I got my Foxies back when they were 4 or 5 a piece. The core was
Yeah.
incredibly cheap to get, and I was like, you know what, Triple E Telly, this could see experimentation. So
And I
it,
think that was the
it
right decision, Grunt. I tell you, there's times where I wait on some of these archetypes a little too long, hoping they'll drop in price, and then they get support announced like this, and then we see them start to go back up. And so,
they might go up. I don't
yes,
even know if they will. I know that Foxy is still up there, but if someone finds a way to really break Punk in the OCG, I could see
Oh
Ogre
gosh.
Dance. If they break Ogre Dance, or
Oh.
if they break the level 11 Synchro, which are both ultras, it could get a little pricey. But
Okay, you
right
guys
now,
heard it.
guys, it's a cheap core.
This is the
It's a
time to
cheap
get
enough
it.
core.
Get it
It,
now.
here's my advice: even if you don't want to pick up the Foxy tunes, maybe at least consider picking up the cheaper parts of the core and getting your Foxy tunes later or trading for them, because again, Foxy tune is going to be more than half of your investment for the core. So
Absolutely.
at least get the
Absolutely.
cheaper stuff now while you can. You could get some of the spells and stuff for like less than 5 cents.
Oh,
So
see, yeah, that's so the way to do it then.
and you
So the way to do it.
and you don't even need all the support, because again, I said it myself, a lot of the existing spell traps were not even that good. You can mostly just focus on the monsters, look at a few playstyles online, and you'll see like which spells are being ran, which ones aren't. And again, it's relatively cheap. I think it's even cheaper than Exo Sisters, just because Foxy's the only thing that's worth more than $1. Exo Sisters, there's like 3 cards that are $3 to $8 a piece.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, that makes complete sense. Okay, let's look at our last card here, and then Carlos is going to join us. So
Wonderful.
we'll be in there in just a second. Oh, and my wife is calling me. Okay, hold on. Okay, so hold on. Let's get through this slide real quick, Grunt, and then we're gonna take a short break.
Okay. No, you're fine.
Okay, so we've got Crawler Soma, or Suma. So this is interesting. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. You can target one face-up monster on your field, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, change the target monster to face-down defense position, but for the rest of this turn, the targeted monster cannot change its battle position. During your main phase, you can reduce this card's level by 2 or 4. Oh, that's really nice. And if you do, special summon crawler numbers with different names from those total levels that are equal to the levels reduced from your hand, deck, or graveyard in either face up defense position or face down defense position. Oh, Grunt, for crawler people, this is fantastic.
Yeah, I really can't say enough about how much I love this.
That card's
Crawlers
awesome.
are crawlers are one of those decks that I almost never thought would get more support, because
Yeah.
we got Deus Ex, which was a very big floodgate, and he wasn't even ran. He was running other decks aside from Crawler, but point is, it's just very, very nice to have something this good, because you get your own essential Cyber Dragon. And I mean, the other thing is that it can bring them in face up, face down. Like, you can special summon one with the field spell, special summon this guy, bring out 2 more, and if you still have one in hand, you could literally have an entire board of crawlers
Jeez.
ready to go.
Wow. Yeah, because
And you
it's going to be easy to special summon the guy. That's not going to be hard because there's a crawler that does that. Yeah, my
yeah,
gosh. I mean, this to me is the exact support that deck needs. I can't wait to start playtesting with this. That is
I
an
mean,
absolute great card.
the funny thing is that it can be any monster. So I honestly would laugh, because here's the thing that I noticed with Soma is that he doesn't really have any restrictions aside from, you can't change the monster he flips battle position.
Yes.
So in certain decks, the fact that all crawlers are insect, honestly, I could see them running Soma here, just because you can summon Soma and then tutor out 2 other crawlers as potential link fodder, Xyz fodder,
Oh my
synchro
gosh.
fodder.
Yes. Oh
It's
my
not the
gosh.
it's not the exact same as Mare Mare, but yeah,
Wow.
this guy does not have a lot of restrictions. I love him in crawlers, but I could totally see someone trying to abuse him as kind of
Oh
a
yeah.
mini engine.
And anything, yes. Because like you said, he's so easy to summon. I mean, literally, you just have to target a card on the field. And let's say you don't even have him in the hand yet. There's a way to get him out, and then on your second, if you're playing pure crawlers, that is, then you can do it on your main phase, still finding a way to make this work. I could not be
He
more
is searchable.
pleased.
That's the cool thing.
Yeah,
That
this
is the
this
cool
is
thing, is that he is
so
searchable.
good. But guys, we're gonna have to stop right there. We're gonna take a short break, and then after that, we're gonna have Carlos on. So, Grunt, again, super excited with what you've put together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, we'll see you guys in a bit.